Hello there, Code Monkeys, and welcome to my very first review of the new direction for this channel. Now, since my first review is going to be a movie, the very first thing I'm going to do in this video is give you the Coded Lock Films official rating scale for movies. From lowest to highest, they go protest it, skip it, meh, see it twice, see it thrice. With that in mind, I can think of no better way to kick off this whole thing than to review my favorite movie of all time. What do you mean that's not what we're reviewing? Well, if I'm not going to review that, then what am I going to start with? Ah, fuck! Seriously? This Twilight shit again? I can't believe I'm going through this again. Have I done something wrong here? Is this some kind of punishment? Okay, before I do anything else, I just want to address two things relating to the title of this movie, Twilight Saga Eclipse. First of all, I refuse to use the term Twilight Saga. Saga is far too dignified a term for this movie series. Henceforth, I shall be referring to these movies as sparkly nonsense. Next, the Eclipse part. Now, all the other movies in this series have a sort of, periods of nighttime feel to them. Twilight, new moon, breaking dawn. But Eclipse? Eclipse? Does Stephenie Meyer think Eclipse is a moon phase? I don't know. Well, anyway. It doesn't matter. Let's just get on to the meat and bones of this thing. There's really not a whole lot to talk about with this movie because sparkly nonsense Eclipse really can be summed up in just one word. Padding. Seriously, there is no reason that this movie needs to exist. There are two main plot elements in sparkly nonsense Eclipse. The first one is Bella having to choose between Jacob and Edward, which we'll get back to later. But the second one is that the redheaded chick from the first and second movies wants to destroy as many of the Cullens as possible. Okay, so here's my problem with this. For those of you who don't know, the Volturi are this vampire ruling body. They're basically in charge of making sure that the entire world knows nothing about vampires. Kind of like Stephenie Meyer. Basically what happens is that this redheaded chick, a girl who is so important and interesting that I've completely forgotten her name, is raising an army of newborn vampires to take on the Cullen clan. And the entire time the Volturi are watching this and letting this happen, because the Cullen clan is one of the only vampire clans strong enough to actually take down the Volturi if they tried, so the Volturi want the Cullens dead. But here's my problem with this. This makes absolutely no sense when you stop to think about it. If the Volturi want the Cullens dead, why don't they just team up with the redheaded chick and take them all down in one fell swoop? Wouldn't one major attack make more sense than two small, weak attacks? And of course, the Volturi are the main antagonists of the fourth book, and they still really do want the Cullens dead, even though, of course, that never happens. So basically what this movie is doing us is showing us that the Volturi are tactical idiots, which completely undermines them as villains. Seriously, there is absolutely nothing scary or intimidating about the Volturi. You can't just slap red eyes and black clothes on someone and expect them to be an intimidating villain. To be intimidating, a group of villains have to demonstrate at least one of two things. They have to be either incredibly powerful or incredibly intelligent. And like I said, this movie is showing us that the Volturi are stupid. But Jesse, you may be saying, this is the vampire ruling body. Doesn't that mean that they're powerful? Well, no, it doesn't, because this movie establishes that vampires are at their most powerful and dangerous when they are first made. And the Volturi are absolutely positively ancient. Meaning that in Stephenie Meyer's sparkly nonsense world, they are some of the least powerful vampires around. Okay, yes, Dakota Fanning can induce pain with a thought, but as far as these movies have shown us, she can only do that to one person at a time. There are 7 Cullens! 7! 9 if you count Bella and her future daughter. You could take the entire redhead wanting revenge plot of this movie and mash it up with the plot of the fourth book and lose absolutely nothing. In fact, you would gain something because it would make the story more tense and it would make the Volturi seem competent. Now we'll go back to the first thing I mentioned, which is the whole part about Bella having to choose between Jacob and Edward. Now, if memory serves me correctly, we already did this! The second book is entirely about her choosing between Jacob and Edward. We already did this, people. We already had her choose between Jacob and Edward. She chose Edward. At the end of the second book, she was with him and he had proposed. And at the end of this movie, she had chosen Edward and he had proposed. Oh, and she had accepted. Yeah, that's worth an entire book. So on the Coded Lock movie rating scale, this gets a skip it. Because like I said, this movie is padding, and the thing about padding is, it's really, really boring. At least the first two Sparkly Nonsense movies were entertaining in how bad they were. The trailers of this movie would have you believe that this is the epic climax, the extreme fighting portion of this series. But just like everything else in these movies, the action sucks. There's absolutely no bloodshed in a war between vampires and werewolves, for Christ's sake. No bloodshed! And you know that big epic fight between the vampires and the werewolves? That mostly happens off screen. So yeah, seriously, skip this movie. Even if you want to see the other three, that's fine. But skip this one. You really aren't gonna miss anything. See you later.